Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. We are glad to have you back for another episode. For those of you who don't know, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Shani.
And you are watching and listening to
The Mocha Message.
Yeah. So, as you know, in the spirit of season 5, we have been highlighting local Black-owned businesses here in the Atlanta area, anything from food to coffee shops to bookstores, candle making, clothing, you name it.
Yes.
And Shani has one to share that she stumbled upon.
So excited. So this place is called Blend's Friends, guys, and the S's are Z's. So it's already like a quirky name, but this is a vegan and non-vegan as well, but they focus on like very healthy smoothies, acai bowls. They have a couple of just like grain bowls, if I'm not mistaken. All very, very good, all very fresh. It's right outside of Washington Road, so really close to the airport if you're down in the South Atlanta area. But so good, y'all. Like, I love a good acai bowl. So I usually get mine with the acai base. They have like a really good granola that you can put on top. So I love me some of that. And then, just fresh fruit on top. It's super refreshing. And on top of that, the service is always really good.
See, that's the main, Yeah. Hook me at the service, you've got me.
Exactly. You can tell that it's a local run business. You can tell that they're very passionate about what they do. They want to make sure you guys have a good experience. So the next time you're over in the area, stop by Blend's Friends. Tell them the Mocha Message sent you.
Hey. All right, y'all. So I know that we are in fall, right? Heading into winter. But because we haven't seen y'all in a while, Shani and I have had a great summer. Just as two Black women, just witnessing a lot of the greatness that came out of this summer.
Yeah.
In the middle of 2023. And I gotta say, there's something that warms our heart more than to see Black women in their element killing it.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
From Serena in the US Open, Simone Biles, breaking record after record after record.
She can't be stopped.
Can't be stopped.
I love it.
Beyonce and the Renaissance, the era, the monumental event that the Renaissance tour turned into. Like, it's just been amazing. But, same song, different day.
Yeah.
As much as a lot of these Black women have just been killing it left and right, there's constantly just been talk of trying to diminish these accomplishments that they've done, the records that they're breaking, the history that they're carving out. Which is wild. Anything from just trying to question their humanity and trying to just downplay, these major things that they've been doing. We wanted to kind of jump into that today and chat a little bit.
And to be honest, it's a global epidemic because it's not only the celebrity or the wealthy or people that we look up to, but we've seen this in our own backyards, right? We've seen a Black woman at work have her idea stolen. And somebody else taking credit for that at a meeting. Or we've seen a local girl on Twitter who's selling, a specific type of garment. And next thing you know, it's on Shein being mass produced. Like, we see it all the time. You've experienced it. We've experienced it.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yes.
So it's frustrating, right? Like,
say the least.
You see people outside of our demographic who, they just kind of do the bare minimum, right? And it just gets the utmost praise. Meanwhile, there's like Black women, we've truly put in effort. We put in the time to research and perfect our crafts. Like, again, like, this is something from as big as a world tour to, something on a more local scale, like somebody really putting in like effort to start up like a nonprofit in the city or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so frustrating to like constantly be discounted as like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Like you're a woman, or, you know, Black women are strong. Like that's what's supposed to happen. And I don't know. It's just not a good feeling. And I know that like my sisters can't relate.
Yeah, for sure. I know right now there's, as someone who's, you know, actively trying to shift into media and journalism and reporting, there's been a particular conversation around an entertainment, I don't even know if you can necessarily call it a reporter, who has been interviewer. Yeah, interviewer. There we go. Who has been interviewing, you know, artists in the Black community and kind of just mocking them by being like, I don't even know who you are. My people set this up. Like very cavalier. And I know on one hand, people are saying like, that's the humor of it all. That's, you know, what that platform is for. It's like dry humor or it's satire. But as someone who like does dig and do their research and find names and learn how to pronounce them correctly. And yes, I'm so sorry about the Easter egg thing. Yes. Who finds names and learns how to pronounce them correctly and where these people are from and like what music they've put out to date. Like to watch somebody get millions of views, to get brand dealerships, to get sponsorships, to get endorsements, basically off of like just showing up, sitting back and being like, why people book this? I don't even know why I'm here. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, there are like actual journalists who have went to school. They've put in the time. They do their research. They cite their sources. Like that has been something that's been frustrating for me lately, for sure. Yeah. Are there like any areas that you can think of where you've been seeing this and been seeing frustration?
I can honestly say I see, okay, y'all. So I'm in the food space and there are a lot of people who have a lot of support for the absolute wrong reasons. Like, in my opinion, it's more about being messy than providing, you know, a good recipe or a trick or a, you know, approach to cooking that you wouldn't think of before, or even providing like your own, you know, history or culture and kind of, you know, modernizing it or anything like that. So I've seen, and I may have talked about this particular guy before, but, you know, it just turns into like these big scams. Meanwhile, like the same guy who like constantly scams people, constantly does not know what he's doing, constantly doesn't have good hygiene as he's cooking, is always beefing with a Black woman. And it just really bothers me because he goes out of his way to like sick his supporters onto Black women, especially like Black women in the food space who actually do know what they're doing, who have put in, you know, years of effort and, you know, content and have their own, you know, businesses revolved around that. So it's just really tough as somebody who is still kind of in the upcoming space of, you know, I'm not super recognizable online, but would like to, you know, continue to grow. It's just disheartening because it's like, okay, this man is like throwing stuff together. This guy's like throwing stuff together on a plate. Like it's not appetizing. He's charging $400, you know, for what? Nothing, like absolutely nothing. And literally he like silences, like I can name, you know, 4 Black women that he's literally like made it his mission to go after. And not only that, but use his supporters to attack them to where, you know, I know a specific Black woman who was a content creator. She had to like go off the grid for a while. And this is her bread and butter. But she literally, like, for her mental health, like, and she has said, like, hey, I already have struggled with, like, depression and, like, other mental issues. Like, I couldn't take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just sad. She feels discounted, and I completely understand that, because it's like, who are you? Like, and it's kind of like all the work that you put in, like, really just means nothing if somebody who can come in and just, like,
wipe it all away.
Yeah, blow it away. Like, so it's, I see that a lot, and it's not encouraging.
Yeah. I think what's also hard for me is, like, you know, we've both worked in corporate / corporate type settings. And there you can kind of, like, you can anticipate it. Like, you know that there are people outside of our demographic, you know, whether it be white or male or whatever the case may be, where you anticipate that happening.
Yeah.
But then you step into, like, these more unconventional or, like, more creative spaces, more spaces with, like, people within our own community or what have you. And it's like, wait, this is happening here too?
Like, it's not inclusive, actually?
Right.
Like, we thought it was?
What is going on? And I mean, to bring it right back to the intro, like, if it's going to happen to Beyonce or it's going to happen to Serena, like, sadly, I don't know if it's escapable for anybody.
That's facts. So you think to yourself, okay, what's the approach? Like, how do we fix this?
Right.
Because I'll be real, my first instinct is just run my mouth. Like, hey, that's wrong. Like, Twitter fingers, whatever the case may be.
Twitter fingers.
But it's not, you know, like, that's not always, and most of the time it's just not effective.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you have, you know, systems against you, when you have, like, people in power against you, when you even have numbers against you. You could be the only one speaking up. You know what I mean? To try to rectify this. So, like, what are some of the, like, approaches that help? I don't know.
Right. It's challenging. I mean, I think maybe I'm a little controversial, but I'm like, run your mouth. Like, say what you got to say. But I mean, and I know on one hand, it feels like it's not conducive, but on the other hand, I think the spirit of that, like, underlying it is to advocate for yourself and to speak up for other people that you see, their efforts being minimized or downplayed or stolen. It's important for us to continue to advocate for ourselves, but it's also important to call it out when you see it, so that whoever it's falling on doesn't always feel so exhausted with having to, like, repetitively and over and over and over, like, say, like, hey, like, this isn't right, this is wrong, you know?
Nah, to be honest, that's a great point. And we actually were just talking about this off camera, about the culture of really America in general is very individualistic. There's not really any community. And if we even dive deeper into just the Black community, it isn't as community based as it was, you know, 5 decades ago, as it was 8 decades ago.
Yeah.
Like, we went from watching out for each other, you know, and speaking up when stuff happens, or at least just being there, you know, to
everybody get your own.
For your own. Get it right. Like, take more than you need, you know, like so, yeah, I think it's so important to not only advocate for yourself, but be that person for your peers and your sisters or your brothers, bro. Like, because you're right. Like, people do get tired of always being the one speaking up for themselves. Like, they get sick of that. They get tired of it. They feel like it's going nowhere. And like I said earlier, it's a numbers game. So, like, if you have 10 people in the room against this one person, imagine how she feels versus, all right, well, now you got 3 other people who were like, nah, hold up.
Yeah.
That was her original idea. And I can show, let me advocate on behalf of that. She feels stronger and she feels more confident to get the credit that she deserves.
Right.
So that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Another thing I think is important is not letting that like seep into your conscience. Like there's always going to be people who.
I was going to say, can we pause for a second? Could you imagine if the Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter sat online and read every comment and let every comment get to her?
Yep.
Like,
yep.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah. It just would never work. Like you can never really function if you internalize all the bad things that people are saying about you. And, like, let's think about it. If a friend, a trusted relative or somebody is telling you something, it may not be something you want to hear. Could it be constructive criticism? Probably. If you got people who don't know your character, who have something that they want to take from you, whether it's an idea or a credit for a work, like you got to think about like, I shouldn't even let that permeate my space at this point because it's toxic. And once it comes in, it latches. Yeah, like that negativity will truly latch until you start to believe like, damn, maybe I'm not like the best at. Yeah, like so you can't let that get in front of you.
It's interesting because like in this online age, right? Like there's so much access. There's access for you to see everything that people are saying. There's access for people to say whatever they want. Like if you would never walk up to somebody on the street and be like, your voice is trash, but you have no training in like, you have no vocal training, you have no musical background, you have like, why would I entertain what you're saying? But sometimes like when you're online, that visibility, it does get to you. Yeah. And sometimes I have to pause and be like, does this person even have credentials in this area? Like, why would I listen to somebody that has no credentials in this area?
Bro, they never do.
Yeah.
The people talking, I know we always bring it back to B. The people claiming that like, oh, she's not all that. Baby, I want to see you do the first 5 minutes of one of her shows. And let me know, like, does she not put in the time to be able to sing, dance, put on, like, have a restricting costume, like,
heels on.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's exactly what Jackie is saying. Like, these people that be spewing all this negativity are, like, just sitting on the couch looking for somebody else to be miserable like they are. So you can't let that get to you. Yeah. You can't. Like, yeah. I love using that as an example because she's so chronically offline. Right. There's a lot of celebrities now that we know too much about, and they know too much about what people say about them. You know what I mean?
Them.
Like
we should be non-factors, really.
Literally, like celebrities sometimes will like respond to a mean tweet or something, and I look at it, I'm like, you wasn't even tagged. Like, were you just searching your name? Like, maybe. That's so unhealthy. That is so unhealthy. And so B is honestly one of the perfect examples for me because she drops an announcement and goes, bro, and goes. She don't care what, Chad from Minnesota said about like her Super Bowl performance or anything like that. No, bro, like take a page from that book because it's so much more life outside of like that bubble of social media and
comment section.
Yeah. And the fact that people do approach social media as I can say whatever and it's okay, that should just show you right there. I'm like, bro, you ain't gonna say that to my face. Correct. You're not gonna tell me that to my face. So in reality, it don't mean anything. It's just words. It's just a projection of how you feel about yourself and you see me, you know, doing well or putting in work, and you feel like you gotta swat that down. But don't let that get to you, man.
Advocating for yourself, right? And then separating out the voices of like what's truly constructive and what's people just like chatting, like yapping, saying whatever they want to say without any like expertise, without any training, education, whatever the case may be in like whatever area that you're trying to make strides in. I think it's also important to kind of keep like a running resume on yourself.
Yeah. That helps like you stop from getting to that point of like, dang, I'm down on myself.
Exactly.
Like, let me pull up my resume.
Up. Exactly. And see like all that you've done.
Yes.
To the point to get to where you are.
Yes.
And use that as fuel to be like, wow, like if I've done this to this point, like how much further is it that I really can go?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be reminded of your accomplishments. It's important to celebrate them, celebrate every win, the big wins, the small wins along the way, and not lose sight of that, because it can be very easy to forget like what you've done already to date.
Yeah.
And just by constantly reminding yourself of that, and just by continuing to keep that in front of mind, like it just fuels you. You know what I mean?
It really does. It really does.
And it gives yourself like credibility. It gives yourself the validation to be like, all right, I know what I'm doing. Like, despite what the haters are saying, despite, you know, the forces that are trying to come against me, like, I really do know what it is that I'm doing. I am excellent. Like, I'm great. I'm valuable. I'm needed.
Yeah.
Like, my voice is needed. My space in the world is needed. I think that just keeping that like running resume, and sometimes like I forget, right? Like I know what I've done to date, but it can be so easy to forget. And I think even tapping into your friends,
right?
Like, be honest. If you're having a moment where you're feeling down or you want to give up or you're not quite sure which direction you want to go in or what have you, like talk to people who will be like, girl,
are you looking at yourself?
Now you know you killed this, that. You got a podcast, like you got an interview show. Like, you know, you've done these things. Like,
for real.
You really do have the right to be in these spaces.
Lean into that.
For sure.
And I guess the only other thing I would say with that too, this just may be my like bookkeeping, accounting, like background, but baby, keep physical like evidence of stuff that you've done and keep protections in place, right? So when it comes to work, let's say that you know, aren't getting credited for an idea that you were the one who put the work and the effort and stuff in.
Yeah.
Have emails ready to go. You know what I mean? Have a couple. Yes. A couple trusted like coworkers who you can, you know, have vouch like, oh yeah, we had this discussion on this day. Here go the calendar invite. Like here go the whole like rundown of what we're going to talk about. Like keep that stuff.
Yeah.
Or I think about a lot of times where like our, you know, designs or our, you know, artwork and stuff like that gets taken. Use the protections that we at least have. We don't have a lot of protections in the US, to be honest, especially in the social media age. But like, you know, don't come out with certain stuff before you go through a trademark process. You know what I mean? That way, at least when somebody has taken your stuff and ran with it, and maybe they have a, you know, bigger following, so it's really going viral, when in reality you had this whole thing planned out and released like months ago. Hit them with that, baby. This is a cease and desist.
Yeah.
You can see my, you know what I mean? Like you can see my trademarks, my copyrights. Like you have to, that's a form of advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I am always a fan of like, let's just stop the he said, she said. Let's see the receipts because they're not gonna lie. Like, so this timestamp, this email, this paperwork is not going to lie. So definitely make sure that you kind of put systems in place to protect your, you know, IP and protect your effort.
Can you imagine somebody just running off with the Mocha Message name?
I know.
who's not even black,
right?
Who's not a woman,
right? Right.
That, oh gosh, like I can't even imagine. But I mean, like Shani said, like we went through the proper process to make sure that we, got the name and the licensing and all that kind of stuff. Like that would be heartbreaking.
All your effort gone. So advocate yourself on the internally, as far as not letting these negative, opinions get to you, but also externally as well with, systems, with processes, with receipts. Like,
that's a very great point.
Do not let nobody take what you have truly worked hard for and have a passion for.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, we got to always leave y'all with a bit of inspiration, a splash of inspiration, an affirmation, what have you. The Mocha message, of course. And, I feel like when like people are just talking or whatever, you're letting the noise seep in, like use it as fuel, use it as fuel to go further. You know what I mean? And I found a cute little quote on Pinterest one time that said like, go so far, like in whatever it is that you're trying to do, that you're so far away that like you can't even hear the noise anymore. Like irrelevant. Irrelevant.
Lock in. Yeah. Like lock into what you're doing. Lock into the people who are gonna provide like actual support, actual encouragement, and everything else, bro. That's a distant sound in the woods.
Facts.
What was that? I don't know. Anyway,
it was just a little, I don't know.
Yeah, a little fly buzzing. No worries. I love that.
Yeah. So,
but with that, we are going to end this episode on video. But of course, you can always continue the conversation on our social media pages, underneath our comments on YouTube. We love to talk with you guys. We love to hear about your own experiences and even some strategies that you guys use to really avoid having people discount you to the point to where you're discounting yourself.
Ooh.
So
wait, that just cussed me out.
I ain't even mean to do that. My bad, y'all. But it's with love, okay?
Yes. I mean, that goes back to the community. Like we all got to band together. We all got to hype each other. We all got to support each other's dreams. And, by y'all commenting, continuing the conversation, sharing, liking, subscribing, that helps us. That helps validate us. So man, with that being said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we're active, when we live.
Yes.
And I think, that brings us to the end.
Well, with that, we'll catch y'all at the next episode.
All right, y'all.
Look at us, millennials. Hit that peace sign
my God.
on everything. I'm a quickly hit